Well, thank you all for coming today, and yeah, I hope you're having a transformative journey on the immense grace Rama Yoga retreat that you're doing. Satnam. Satnam. Okay. So, my name is Sachin. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I'm cooking food for you. I apologize if there was less food today. I will be reading off of my iPhone. I apologize, just because I'm cooking and stuff. I haven't had a lot of time to make spreadsheet notes, but I hope it's acceptable. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing an Ayurvedic cooking class. The food you are eating, the curries mainly, and my intention is so that you leave with some knowledgeable skills on how to cook Ayurvedic food. It's very simple, it's just with spice. So what we'll do is right now, Priscilla. Please pass these spice tins around to our friends. And this one as well in your hand, thanks. So I'm going to pass around some spices too, and I want you to get familiar with the scents and aromas. All the spices that you're smelling are everything that you've been consuming. Again, they're fully organic, Ayurvedic, and yeah, I think they're wonderful. And so we have some food that we're going to cook with, and when we do, you're more than welcome to come up here because it's so hard from like a distance like this, so we can all stand up, and because I want to show you how to cook an Ayurvedic dish for your dosha. Have we all heard of doshas here before?
Yes.
Has anyone not? Wonderful. Okay, we'll get into that's beautiful. No? We'll get into some. We'll correspond. So the little samples of things I was sending around to you are Ayurvedic essential oils, sprays, medicated ghee, which are all based on individual's constitution. If you're either Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Vata resembles element of air, Pitta resembles fire, and Kapha is earth and water. So what I'll do is I'm going to get you to come up, and I'm going to give you these little fact sheets to check out, and you can just chill out and read those. Thanks. I'm also going to pass around something to you as well that I want you to check out. These are marma points. Have we heard of marmas before?
Yeah.
Okay, so just like, okay, no, perfect. So just like traditional Chinese medicine, when we look at acupressure points in the human body, we've heard of nadis.
Yes.
Great, so nadis, like within our chakras, our 5 sheaths of consciousness, these are in relation to women's. So along with cooking, I work in a clinical practice of Ayurveda, so as an Ayurvedic health consultant, and I also do hands-on healing. So it's just kind of from one of my notes, and I thought I'd pass it around to you. So if you have an iPhone on you or something, take a snapshot of it, so that way you could work on these points for yourself at home, or on your friends as well, who you do yoga with. And they're all in relation to opening up the centers and channels of the body, which in relation to a Western vocabulary would be, we're stimulating the organs and our nervous system for a nutritive way. Great. So I'm going to have you pass that out to our friends. On the topic of nutritive, we do have an Ayurvedic tea that we've been serving here. The tea that we've been serving is quite beautiful because it has Dhammayana, which is meant for stimulation of the reproductive organs. It's great when moon cycles occur because it's great for just calming down any pain. We've also wildcrafted a lot of herbs that go into it, so mullein is one of them. Mullei's great for bronchitis, asthmatic conditions. You've got hawthorn berry, which is supportive for your kidneys. Skullcap, black and blue cohosh, which are great for nutritives for our mind, stress, and balancing hormones, along with rose petals and turmeric. So turmeric's a big one, and you're going to find it in a lot of foods. And that's one that I like if you eat meat, if you eat vegetarian, to incorporate into all of your foods on a regular basis. So a lot of people are taking capsule forms of it, and that's beautiful. But if you employ turmeric just into your diet in a simple sense, it's kind of like having coffee, let's say, in the morning. A lot of people enjoy doing that first thing. So this is kind of like having a little ounce of medicine. Great. So I just want to see on my notepad here what we're going to get into first. Oh, first thing, of course. So, like lighting the Agni in the fire, which we've been doing a lot of here at this beautiful bonfires. If you ladies look over here to then, Priscilla, could you open up that little cardboard bag there? Yeah, perfect. What I'd like you to do is, Priscilla, if you could pass it around to all our friends who come today. So what I have here for you, and just watch out so it doesn't drop on the ground. So from Ojai, California, they have something called Salvia leucophoria officinalis, and it's white sage. So it's the white sage that grows from the Chumash land. I well-crafted this before I came, and I figured since you're doing your bonfire ceremony today with Guru Jagat, it would be beautiful for you all to have something to take home, or to add to the fire as well, aside from everything else that you're putting in the fire. No, you're welcome. And if there isn't enough to go around, just like snap off some from one of your friends who's close by to you. Yeah. On the note of fire, so when cooking, how do you cook? What's your frame of mind like when you cook? The one thing that we do in Ayurveda before we cook is we light this. And do you all know what this is? It's called camphor? Yeah? Okay, cool. So I'm going to pass this camphor around to you. And this is what's used usually in a lot of Vedic ceremonies. We also use it in Ayurvedic healing. So if you're going to make, say, massage oils for your joints, for your... Actually, they use it for scalp relief as well. People have hair loss. So I'm going to pass this around to you. You can crush it up and you can smell it. Just don't consume it. And, Caroline, would you mind passing this around for me, please?
Sorry, what is it? What is camphor? What is it from?
Camphor comes from a leafy plant, and it's a sap that exudes off of it. It's usually used for massaging muscles, opening it for tendons. So it's used in usually mortars and poultices. So something I recommend if you're doing your practices, you're feeling really tight in your muscles, it might be something helpful for you to use.
So you crush it and then you put it with like a ghee or something, or how do you?
You can use ghee, definitely. If that's a little too much for you, you could use sesame oil. Sesame oil is meant to be one of the king of oils because it absorbs into all 5 layers of tissue, skin, and muscle. That's why it's known as a tridosha for all individual type skin. Okay. Totally. So, for instance, now why do you light it? So, in the Western world, the Aboriginal First Nations culture uses sage when they cleanse space. In Ayurveda, we use camphor. And it's also used before doing puja, ceremonies that Guru Jagat will be doing with you to follow with the bonfire tonight, and all the wonderful ceremonies. So this is something that you can light, and just because we are in the process of cooking with food, it's always something nice that's part of the tradition to clean space and to hold space. So again, my name is Sachin Sudra. Where I come from doing Ayurveda and learning Ayurveda, I might need a little hand with the mic here. It keeps going down like this. Thank you so much. So the one place I come from Ayurveda, it's not from going to a school and getting a certification. It comes from my grandmother and my mother's. These are the ones who solemnly taught it within ancient times, previously before the Mahabharata and the continental divulges of Jambudvipa, which are in relation to the surgence of Vedic knowledge coming into India from the south and upward into the north, where it was immensely cultivated, as we see within the practices you're doing this day. So that's just a little background on where my initial practices are from, but I'm also a clinical practitioner practicing from Mysore Clinical Hospital in India. So let's begin. One thing I was doing when I was sleeping yesterday, I was thinking about what am I going to teach everyone here, and what do you want to learn? What's one thing you want to take from what I'm going to teach you today?
How to make your salad dressing.
Sure.
And some oils like skincare, like easy to use skincare for your face and body.
Okay. Skincare, salad dressing. Okay. We'll cover. We'll get through as much as we can with you. Perfect. Medicinal ghee. Okay. So we're gonna get through some. We're gonna teach you some fundamentals that you can take with you and use within your kitchen and your practice as you begin your cleanse with Guru Jagat, doing the khichdi cleanse. So actually, we'll teach you how to make khichdi today and how to make a mung bean curry. Yes?
I'd love to know how you get tea, if you'd be willing to share that recipe.
Well, I can, but there's some herbs in there that you actually have to prescribe to purchase. So I don't, if anyone is interested, I do sell it. And actually, this tea that was made was specifically for this group and for what was occurring. In the Chakra Samhita, which is the first verses of Ayurveda, and it's our clinical volume texts, which are over 56 texts that they've translated. So 5,000 years old of knowledge. That's all. They talk about oil pulling in it. It's like over 5,000 years old, but it was really for cleanliness and stimulating all the organs in the human body, from the Vata, Pitta, Kapha organs. So we will go over that most definitely today. I like to start everything off more than a ceremony, and I guess we did by lighting some camphor, but I was thinking of all of you amazing goddesses, women, as I was walking in the desert in nighttime. It's profound. You can see the stars. Its illumination is quite resonant. And I thought, you know, the desert, it has a call of science, and you can hear the coyotes in the midnight screaming at each other as they go hunting. And as the rising of the sun's energy in the morning cultivates and you wake up with Guru Jagat for sadhana, your Kundalini uplifts. And may we all, as a man as well, and to all this sisterhood, combine your forces and transpire the channel to always bring peace and harmony to this earth we live on. So just have to think about things I could bring up and say. So thank you so much for listening to me, and let me share a little bit about what I know and what I do. So what I do with Ayurveda is I teach, motivate, and educate and inspire people to transform their diets, because your food starts in what you're eating every day. And it starts with your yogic practice too. Okay. So the first thing we're going to get started on, thank you, Tracy. I want to get right into an Ayurvedic cooking class with you, but I think there's some fundamentals we need to go through first. So the first things we're going to go through are going to be on doshas and anatomy. So this wonderful drawing that was drawn here was, just want to tell you, but it's from Tracy over there. And Tracy's actually an amazing 3D chalk artist. And she's like one of the best in the world. And she's a woman too, because it's usually a male-dominated practice in business in America and in the world. So it's kind of cool to have really inspired and creative individuals with us, as everyone is here today. So let's get started on doshas, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. So when we look at the human physical body, which is the physical body, it has a mind, it has a spirit, it has something that's far beyond just the physical of it. We look at things like foods that are good for us, we have gluten tolerances, we're susceptible to different kind of environments, so I believe it's winter right now in California, which is hard to believe, but we can see the ice caps as well. So how do you live in an environment in harmony and grace? And that goes from your external, your internal environments, and I'm going to show you that through the doshas so you can specifically understand them for yourself. I've asked for you all to sign up a sign-up sheet with me, and I will be sending everyone a free ebook, recipe book, for the recipes that we were cooking with in the class, like all day. So you'll have all those dishes like the salad dressing that I believe you wanted. Yeah, so that's my gift to you. But in order to use them, you need to do one thing. You need to know how to cook with spices. So we're going to learn the healing alchemy of spices in Ayurveda. It's just like transpiring the energy within ourselves and how we do it through food. So I think before I get started, because that's going to take about a half an hour, I wanted Priscilla to pass this around with Guru Jagat's permission. Okay? It's string. Yeah? Okay. So the reason why I'm going to pass around string, you know, whenever you go, you see like people are involved in doing like Vedic traditions, sadhus, whoops, they have red string on their right hand. Yeah. Yeah? Okay, cool. So this is from my tradition. I come from a tradition of Siddha Veda, which is Ayurveda. And just because I thought it would be nice, we're doing ceremony today with Guru Jagat for everyone to have some string to tie around your right or left hand. Is that okay? Cool? Okay.
Is there a reason why right or left?
Yes, there is. And the reason why it's right or left, if you're married, you put it on your right, and if you're not married, you put it on your left hand. And this is called Abhyanga Sutra thread. So you think of like the Kama Sutra. Sutra is always, it's a line, like the sutra lines that exist within the world. So east to west lines are known as the yoni lines of the Vam Sata Dham, of the backbone of the universe. those lines that are invincible, but we'll get into that at the end of our class. So the tradition of what this represents is, from our tradition is, this is the fire that abides within an individual's Atman, known as Nataraj, being the cosmic flame and the cosmic dancer, that exudes himself within truth. And the 5 arts of music, dance, poetry, sculpture, and architecture are all conceptual-based rhythms of expression. So as we're doing this in our dance, in our art practices we're learning, I thought it would be nice to share it with you and for all these sisters to have some string and tie it on yourselves, if you wish, only. So we've heard of what a mandala is? Okay, great. So this relates to a mandala as well. So when you get this string, this should be tied on the wrist for men, on the right wrist. And pardon me, because we're going to do the Abhyanga Sutra thread, not a different ceremony. It will be on the left wrist for women, so I apologize. So the only thing you need to remember is, this thread should be worn for at least 1 mandala. So what is 1 mandala? According to this, it's 48 days. And it will generally be effective for 3 to 4 months. So whoever ties it on you, please let them and put some good intention in. You can keep the thread however long it lasts or remove it after a minimum of 48 days by untying it or burning it. It should not be cut. That's one thing you don't want to do. And the Abhyanga Sutra thread also can be buried under a plant or a near water body or tied to a flowering fruit-bearing tree, or it should be burnt. If you burn it off and when it's burnt, you can apply the ashes to your Vishuddhi chakra, which is located in the pit of your throat, right here, or to the Anahata chakra. So if we require more information on that, I'll send it to you by email as well, but I just want you to dial in a few of those things. So when you take the string, it's like really easy. You can just hold it and break off a little piece that you want for yourself, okay? Good. Okay, perfect. So from the tradition I know of Ayurveda, and I find it really interesting actually because the Kundalini yoga that you're doing is such a supportive practice and spiritual practice for women within the American world, with this dominant, forceful, male kind of energy that exists as we see. And so I think it's so beautiful and profound to see the sisterhood come together and find a way to really, really step it up and move the world to create change. And I guess with that, I'm just going to check my notes for 1 second and see where we're headed. We had a little bit of a hiccup, and I apologize about the lack of food we had halfway through our lunch, but we'll make sure to have more for you as dinner arrives and snacks. Okay. So, what is Ayurveda? And how does it have a relationship to Kundalini yoga? So Ayurveda is a systematical practice from India to create balance and harmony for an individual living in an external and internal environment, being the internal space we're in right now to the external environment when we go outside. So how are we able to take care of ourselves in certain adverse environments? Now, taking care of ourselves relates to our mental mind, but it also goes back to creating balance and harmony and ease and grace within our spirit. And that relates to our physical body, to our mind. And one thing I want to definitely interject on is, when we look at Kundalini Yoga and Ayurveda, how can they be supportive for each other? You're basically taking a medical science practice that's been used for over 5,000 years or more and incorporating into the practice that you're doing right now. So if you're practicing Kundalini Yoga on a regular basis, I highly recommend that you incorporate some dietary aspects into your diet. And the reason why is because it's going to support, facilitate, and help with this rising of energy that we're cultivating. We have clients that have come to us in the clinic and they've had Kundalini disorders. So it's cool. So actually in our Texas, there is something called a Kundalini disorder that happens. So we've had people who have done, not know what they're getting really into, because this is a very powerful activity that we're doing. And, people want more energy and they want to make more money, and so they do this. And as we know, if we rise energy and it's not able to rise, and it gets stuck in a certain level of energy, it can disturb the nervous system. This is practical, actually, in a sense. So it's really cool. So how would you assist in that? Well, spices, certain forms of healing, massage, dietary standards, environments. So it's ways to self-correct things. But it's really interesting to see how there's corrections for certain kinds of practices as well. So with Kundalini Yoga and Ayurveda, it creates such a beautiful harmonic balance to be supported with the nutrition, the food you're eating, the environments, your relationships, your self-care. We're going to get into self-care as well. Self-care is called dincharya, and that's when we look at cleansing the body as a temple, and what are the reasons for that. So does anyone here do abhyanga, which is, it's more of like an oil massage for your body? Okay, great. So abhyanga is great. The one thing I want to get into play with doing abhyanga is what kind of oils do you use for specific doshas and why? The circulating methods, the grounding aspects, and how you can use it, let's say, for children. So my grandmother, when women were pregnant, she was an adula. So after a woman was given birth, due to the depletion of dhatus, have we covered dhatus? Okay, great. So dhatus is like your essence. It's there are 5 different bodily tissues. They get depleted in the human body, and arthritic conditions usually persist if a woman is not taken care of well and has an adequate rest after she's had a child. So for 21 days, a woman would get massaged with medicated oils, and the baby as well, and it's usually with ghee and some herbs as well. So that'll be done on a regular basis, and only by women, only. And I really encourage you, if you're looking to get into more healing practices, to really consider Ayurveda as well, because it's definitely one that would be very cohesive to what you're doing here today. Okay, so spiritual needs and a sattvic lifestyle. Have we covered gunas by chance? Okay. Okay, so we've heard of like sattva, right? The word? Perfect. Okay. So I should start writing and stuff, and then we'll get to a cooking class, because I want to get this over with. I may need to require you to hold this microphone for me, please. Yeah, so I'm going to move around a little bit. Okay, thanks for doing this for me. Appreciate it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, this is the physical body. Okay, good. And the one thing we're going to look at here is how do doshas relate to an individual in the physical body? Where are they exactly? So everybody, aside from my friend here, is not aware of what doshas are, correct? Can I get a raise of hand who kind of, in some way, knows what their dosha is? Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, perfect. So one of the most beautiful things, you're going to have to hold it up a little bit more for me, thanks. The one thing that I want you to realize is when you understand your doshas, you don't only create harmony with yourself and your relationships, because then you actually understand what kind of individual's dosha would be good for me. Because a dosha isn't just what's good for your physical body to eat and how dry your skin gets, but it relates to your mental frame of mind, your organs, and the physical energetics and relationships that you carry continually around you. How are you consciously engaging with others around you? Do you look them in the eye, or can you? Do you look into their nataraj, into the burning lantern fire which exists within their spirit? So when cooking the food for you ladies, everything was pre-selected, and I know we talk about 108 a lot within Kundalini Yoga.
Yeah.
So when we cook the food, we light camphor before cooking any of the food. We wash our hands. For instance, coming to this class, I'm fasting for the whole day when I cook for you. So I will cook and I will not eat. Why? Because it's sacrificing for another. That's the tradition. Now, I did hear some lady speaking yesterday about how there was something being said that, we will give away, I think it was something like, do well, you do like really good, and no one will hurt you or anything. But they're talking about some men that kind of did the bad thing to them. Well, I think end of the day it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant because we're all living right now in the present moment. So getting back to 108 and what we do when we're cooking the food, we stir it 108 times. Clockwise, but we also go counterclockwise because we have to think about foods actually intercommingling properly. And the clockwise movement and the rhythm of nature which relates to us, not from a clock. So we've heard of the swastika symbol before?
Yes.
Great, you'll see it on a lot of my symbology. I also have the 64 petals, which we'll speak about as well, what that represents. So we're trying to bring in a lot of good energy in what we're doing, and that's what I'm hoping we'll leave here with. And as you can tell, I might be really vata. I like to talk a lot. This is the organ of my body that I use a lot. I use my hands, I'm doing things, I'm like hyperactive. But we need to take our strengths and harness them. So that's what I'm doing. And just so you know, if you're a Vata dosha, it's the easiest dosha to actually balance, aside from Pitta and Kapha. Why? Because Kapha and Pitta, those are forces of nature. Try jump in a fire, you'll get burned. Look at water and earth. That is the strongest thing that's holding the core of earth together, man. Yeah. So, but if you think of Vata, that's like airy. It's mentally inactive. But when it balances itself out, it can do really good. So thank you for letting me hold space for you for this hour. So going into doshas, I'm just gonna you're gonna have to go right like this. Okay, that's cool. So we're gonna talk about doshas in the human body. Okay. Now what we're gonna show you right here is we've heard of Vata. Can I get a raise how many Vatas we have here? Okay, that's it. Okay, so we have 12 Vata. And how many Pittas do we have? Sure, so we got 12. And how many Kapha doshas do we think we have?
What is that?
Perfect. I'm going to get more into that with you. Actually, we're going to do a consultation together as well. And I will explain what doshas are. That's actually what I'm going to get into right now. I'll show you. Okay. So we'll say we have 6. So I think a lot of people don't really understand what their doshas are. When I send you an email, I'm also offering Ayurvedic consultations if anyone is interested. So I do them over Skype, email, or I'm going to be in California until the 2nd of February if you're interested as well. So that's kind of a good correction as well as you're going into your diets and your cleanses. So when we look at the human body, where is Vata, Kapha, and Pitta in the human body? So I'll show you right here where it is. Okay, so where Vata, Pitta, Kapha are in the human body, I'll show you right now. So if we look here at the chest, okay, and this is the stomach. We'll put it right here. This is the mouth, and this is the mind. This is where etheric prana enters from the head. There are 2 organs. And then when we go down here, we have our reproductive organs as well. We have our large intestinal tract, and then we have our small intestinal tract. I'm just gonna get another pen. Okay, so the human body and doshas. Here we go. This is our lungs right here, okay? And our lungs represent what? What are we breathing in? Air. Perfect. Okay, good. But what happens when, let's say, if you have too much, too much sugar, too much gluten, too much wine, you get sick, you go, you spit, mucus formation. Something is heavy, dense. Right. So that's a kaphic buildup that can happen in the body when you get that. Too heavy, mucusy, too much cheese. So this right here is called kapha. And this is where kapha resides in the human body. We'll put a red mark around that. So that's kapha. And then when we go down here, just a little bit down there. Okay, now this is the fire in the individual, where it exists. It's your oven in your body. When you eat food, your body needs to burn that. It needs to create that. It's like your furnace, your internal fire, your heat. I think we talk about fire a lot in Kundalini Yoga. So this is a place where people will develop celiac conditions. A lot of skin conditions occur because of this one place when we get leaky gut. And we'll show you how to correct that actually as well, I hope. So the one thing of where pitta resides in the body, and this is the physical part of the body, okay? This internal organs we're looking at first, is your stomach. Because your stomach is what is taking in the food. So that is your stomach right here, your pitta. Vata. So Vata is interesting. Vata is in two places in your body. Where Vata is within your body is basically in your small intestinal tract. And your large and small intestine. Because whatever goes into the body, let's say, and we'll put a piece of happy chicken here. Let's say this food, if this food goes into your body, right? You're eating all this food while you're here. Salad, mung beans, chocolate, chips, something nice. What's happening? It's going into your mouth, right? Okay, good. So when it goes into your mouth, it goes down, it passes your lungs, it goes into your stomach, and it gets absorbed by your stomach. And that's the furnace where it breaks down your food. When it goes into when it passes into your stomach lining, it goes into your intestinal tract. First it goes into your small intestines, and then it goes into your large intestines. Now the problem is, when we eat foods, if we're under stress, we're mentally fatigued, we're at a certain timing, we're eating late, it won't fully get absorbed into our intestinal tracts, and it usually seeps out within your small intestinal tract into your bloodstream, and it accumulates as toxins. And that's where we see skin conditions occur, and we can do plenty of things to counteract that. And how we can do that is through foods, diet. Why? Just like ghee, for instance. What is ghee? It's a fat. It's an oil. So we're lubricating and nourishing our internal body, just like you would give an oil change to a car, grease up the joints. That's why you do Abhyanga mainly. It's to actually counteract arthritic conditions that happen in the body, create circulation. And it's usually done with things like camphor as well, and certain herbs. You're in a beautiful place like California, so I highly recommend we can look at what kind of wildcrafting plant life can we use, because everyone lives in California, I think New York City. So when we live in a certain environment, we should consider what kind of plant life exists in these mountains, and how can you use that plant life that exists out there from a herbalist or a wildcrafter who would prepare it properly for you for your health. And that can be for your skin, your internal body as well. The reason why that is so helpful is because you are breathing and living every day in a certain place in the world. And that place determines how you are going to be cohesive and in harmony in that environment. So if there are herbs, water, that you're breathing in continually, you will find that it will be better for you to take herbs that exist and grow from that land naturally. I know we talk a lot about consuming Ayurvedic herbs, which come from India as well, but the natural place we live in the world can be the Ayurveda that we're consuming as well. Because Ayurveda isn't just from India, it's universal. It doesn't even need a name in a sense, but we will give it a name today. So when we look at doshas, can I take this 1 second, please? Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. You can sit down. I'll deal with this myself. Okay. So when we look at it's just to make it just because again, a very Vata individual is where in the human body? Mouth, which should be here. Vata. Why? Because they're saying a lot of things, they're seeing a lot of things, and they're hearing a lot of things. So sometimes when we hear bad things like a sound, someone says something bad to us, we're hearing it. It's a vibrational sense, and we might take offense to it or not. So the sensory perception in Vata is so dominant in the human body. So we need to be aware of it. And so when you think of Vata, it remains in two places, which would be within our ears, our eyes, our mouth, our nose. They're all taking in ether. They're all taking in sound or outputting as well. With that in mind, we should look at self-care for a Vata individual. So oiling the body is a great thing because it helps ground the nervous system and stimulate the small intestine and large as well for digestional purposes. There's also something called Anu Thailam, which is an Ayurvedic oil for your nostrils. The reason why they put oil, you would put oil after, say, bathing in your nose, just like people put bad things in their noses, is because it's actually a medicated, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say that. The reason why is because it is actually, when you sniff something, and what does it do? It goes to your brain. Boom. So what you're doing is using Ayurvedic medicated oil in your nostrils, it's going straight to your brain, but it's stimulating your mind, and that's one of the points of it. And also to lubricate the glands in as well, if you do Nadi Shodhana, for instance, so it does not get really dry and mucousy. On the second part, we have ears and we have eyes. You can actually use oil in both as well, if you wish. I will be offering, if you wish, dosha self-care packages, which you can take with you, and I will be sending out to people as well. Just like something nice, because I think you're going to be going to a really fun a preparation of cleansing with Guru Jagat. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. So just on that behalf. Okay, so Kapha. Kapha resides predominantly as earth and water. And it builds up usually in the lungs. And that's why we need to take care of this part in our body. When we look at Pitta, this is usually a big predominance where people might get acidic issues, they might not digest their food properly. For instance, and on that note, we'll get into the liver, the spleen, we'll get into the mind as well, but I just want to start with the primary basics. A Pitta dosha, if we think about it mentally in the mind, it's like fire. It's alive, it's fierce. They make good leaders. But the one thing that it can be aggravating to is too much force, too much activity, too much trail running, too much forceful activity. Go, 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 go. Coffee, maybe a glass of wine, some chocolate, things that are fiery, that give it that ignition. Now the problem with that is that can burn out your body. And then we're going to get into dhatus. Dhatus are, put them right here. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so in Ayurveda, this is one of the biggest things we need to know about. I'm just going to write this quickly here. I apologize, I'm moving so quick, but I believe we're on a time schedule. So, dhatus in Ayurveda is what we all are. So, I think we have some beautiful little kids that are running around. What are children made from? Exactly. Okay. We all come from it. And what is this? Sperm and seed. They're fluids. They're fluids, really. And look what exists. These crazy human beings with brains and like eyes and like orifices and nails and like everything. It's amazing when you think about it, that fluids create what we are right now. So in Ayurveda, we go back to the micro and macrocosmic state of an individual, and we go back to the root cause of their birth, and that's where we find what is best to create harmony in their life. So dhatus play a big part in life, and this can go into hair loss, this can go into adrenal fatigue, can go into unhormonal balances. I work as an Ayurvedic practitioner, and 97% of my clientele are women. I think it's frankly in a sense, men, they're looking for quick fixes, where the feminine nature is actually looking to create real harmony. I think that's how they live longer, they're smarter. There's a lot of things we need to look at. But then the whole point of Ayurveda for both sexes of nature is to actually create equilibrium balance between the feminine and male energy and the neutral that exists. So it's in harmony, and I believe that the respect will flow properly. Sorry to get off topic. So dhatus, this is important. Who drinks coffee here? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Okay, who drinks wine? Alcohol. Don't need rice if you smoke, I don't know that. Chocolate. Okay, everyone. who uses spice in their diet? Okay, great. Okay. Okay, then I'm going to get this. Good. And how does this relate to dhatus? What am I talking about? Dhatus, when we're born, are these reproductive fluids that come together and they create a human body, actually. Dhatus are in relation to plasma, blood, bone marrow, reproductive tissue, fat in the body. When we overexert the body, we burn it out. When we put too much into our body, such as coffee, chocolate, acidic foods, lifestyles that aren't supporting us, they're burning out our body, you actually burn out your internal essence, we can call it that. And that even goes back to your bone marrow as well. So if you ever say you got a bleeding nose, think about the last time that you drank some water, aside from how dry the climate is. Because the climate in a sense is what? Dry, right? And dry itself can be airy, and that could be related to vata. So when we think of seasonal changes, for instance, as fall, which arrives in California, it becomes windier, drier, a little bit colder. Where does that affect you? It affects you in your intestinal tract. And that's why it's really important when seasonal shifts occur to do cleanses for your body. You can do cleanses with food, you can do cleanses with a massage. So you can do and you can do ones at home yourself. So that's a big part of looking at these areas of our organs, actually. But when we look at dhatus and how that relates to us, this is the primary basis. If you look at men and they bald, usually, and they say it's heredity. They say this on a regular basis. But when you think of lifestyles that people might live, are they actually massaging their scalp on a regular basis? Because we should. This is a physical body we need to. And we'll get more into that with Dincharya. Like, massaging our scalp is just not important for hair growth, but for stimulation of our nervous system as well, for creating calm and grace to it. Anything that creates harmony. But then not going off of that and just relying on self-care as a practice, because then we forget about everything else. But the cool thing about Ayurveda is that like every day is spa day. Because it's like you're taking care, because you're taking care of yourself in a really harmonic way. And what's better than that if we're feeling good? Now, when we think of depletions in our bodies, such as stress, hormones, overexertion in our body, consider how much water we're drinking. They say in the USA, I believe it's December because of Christmas, depression rate increases by 65%. And I found that really interesting, in some states, sorry. And they said that had to do with the fact that people deplete themselves of what? Water. They're just moving. And with that in mind, what is that depleting? It's depleting your reproductive tissues in your body. It's burning it out. So when we have clients, let's say, I had a client who was on birth control. She was, trying to, just like heating, more forceful factors of life. There was a lot of hair loss happening. So hair loss usually occurs when we're overheating the body. But where does that happen? It can happen in your spleen and your kidneys. And because your stomach then is working too hard. So we're looking for things to support. So in a nutshell, going back to doshas of vata, pitta, kapha, vata is like air. It's moving, it's fast, it's quick. Pitta is forceful, it's fiery, it's passionate, and kapha is grounded. It can be lethargic, it can be dense, but they're all, now these are qualities, and I've written some down if I can share them with you, which may make it a little bit more, because I did some homework for you. Okay, I'm going to ask, please, if you can hold this for me one last time. Thank you very much. Okay, how's everyone doing so far?
Good.
Do you need to take a break? No? Okay, no breaks. Okay, okay. So,
Sachin, I actually had a question.
Please.
And it was about, I know maybe you'll talk about this when we're cooking, but clockwise versus counterclockwise, what are the energetics around that?
Sure. Okay, so when you look like at the clockwise manner, they say that, okay, like that's actually not a good thing to do. Now, the clockwise, okay, this is going to be fun. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, check this symbol out. We all can see this?
Yeah, sure.
What symbol does that look like? Swastika, perfect. People refer to it as the Nazis. Okay, so you'll see it also with these 4 rhythms here too. Now this is to answer your question, just so you know, because you're on the topic. What this symbol represents is time, rhythm, space, and form. Also comes into the rhythm of 108 from this tradition we know of as absolute time, absolute space, Om sound, Om light, air, fire, water equaling the 8th element, which is earth, all moving in a counterclockwise manner. And where does it come from? It starts from this, a cube, a mandala. It's primarily mortal shape. It's said in pranayama that a lotus flower from my elders, that in pranayama, a 64 lotus unfolds within the cave of the heart. And it's a poetry to represent the mandala, representing the 108 movement of this rhythm, because the swastika itself actually goes into a grid. And this is called vastu. And this is the grid that they'd actually build and compose music, arts on, and temple architecture as well, including the Golden Temple. So, and I believe actually, a lot of people in the Punjab, like the Sikh symbology of it, and that actually has a lot of relationship to this. It does actually, completely. Even the Abhyanga Sutra thread you're wearing does. So, going back to why am I turning this clockwise? Well, the one thing we were told from our mothers was that if you cook like this, at least once when you're cooking, you will bring good energy to the family and prosperity, and it will heal your family and they'll be happy. Very simply put, we can give it a very technical aspect as well. In my opinion, you're permeating something from the cave of your heart, and you're tapping into a transmission of consciousness that exists within all of us. Because as we do our practices of yoga, we definitely know that there's something different that we're feeling. So within this practice of what this means, I'm going to go into it because you made me. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay. Cool. So when we look at what a swastika basically represents, it's basically this crossed form like this. And when you think of Earth, which way is the Earth turning? Okay, that's good. Which way does the wheels on a bus turn? Clockwise, usually. It's moving forward. Okay, so if we think of planet Earth itself, right now as we're existing, it's on an axis, right? And its axis is on what? North and south. Okay, so let's just say this little circle right here that you see, that's an axis. And this is north and this is south. If you look at where west is, where we are right now, west is here, east is here, okay? And then our north direction is going to be here. So north, east, south, and west. The land we're on is actually on a grid, and it's actually declinated by, I think, 15 degrees, which is very interesting. But the reason why I'm bringing this up and all with you about what we're doing here, in general, is that when you move on a clockwise movement, a swastika itself is actually the resonance of what Om light and Om sound is. Because, and why? Because we got to go there, because we talked about it. When we look at absolute space, which is what is outside of us and inside of us, because it's everything, space, and then we look at time, which exists and commingles with it, when those two particles, actually from this tradition that we're known of, light and sound emerge like stars, like a big bang. And within that, something is growing, like a planet, like a star. Just like when you are born and you have a horoscope, you have your astrological symbols, and I believe there are courses you're taking. An individual is born. When you're conceived at birth, that's within time, space. And within that, you can calculate an individual's resonance to mathematics, which is known as Vastu or Vastu Purusha. So when we look at time, space, and then we look at light and sound, which is Om light and Om sound, from those four actions, the elements of air, fire, water, earth emerge, which are all again moving in a clockwise manner. And that clockwise manner is going back to 108, taking it back to the sense into the kitchen of why we're stirring it. It's paying homage, and it's allowing us to have our transmission back to what we're doing. I'm sorry if that sounds like a difficult.
No, but
Okay.
no, that's not difficult, it's very great. But also, now, so that's stirring in a clockwise manner. What would occur if you stirred it in a counterclockwise?
Okay. So the reason why, okay, now this is bringing Ayurveda, no, this is good. So this is bringing Ayurveda into the Western world, you know, like practicalness. So if you're taking pharmaceutical medication or medication from a laboratory, it has to be mixed. Okay? So this is like just basics. You always stir it clockwise, but you stir it counterclockwise as well. Why? Because all of the ingredients medicinally, they need to converge with each other fully. If you just go clockwise, they don't. So you have to do it counterclockwise. Yes, there are traditions and times in history where when things have been transpired in a anti-clockwise manner, it's represented the unofficial thing of creating disharmony or balance, or I believe the thought has been for a state of control and power, which we see in the past. But that's the past and this is the present. So the reason why I would stir in 108 times, but I would also go counterclockwise as well, is the fact that I want to make sure that the ingredients, the alchemy, the food that I'm creating within spices is actually completely being mixed properly. So you're getting that medicine continually. I hope that makes sense. Okay, sorry. I had to make...
That's amazing.
Okay. Good.
We actually have a meditation where Yogi Bhajan, you actually with your hands make the swastika. That's it. I was just going to say that. There's a meditation where we do that with the hands. You make the clockwise swastika, you know, and you're actually making the mandala in your auric field. It's pretty wild.
It's beautiful.
We'll do it.
Dude. Okay, so
I have a question.
please.
Okay, so I've been walking, and I've been walking in a clockwise direction, west, south, east, north. But the other day, I went the other way, east, south, west, north, and I felt it was like I was walking against the energy. It was the weirdest, I never felt that before, and I don't do it all the time. So what's going on?
Okay. Well, I think what's going on is just the fact that you probably felt a little bit more disharmony because you weren't moving in a movement that was cohesive for yourself.
So should I keep just going the clockwise?
Well, sure, but just remember that you're not, and don't let your mind feel like, okay, everything's gonna go wrong if I go clockwise all the time.
Right.
But it's something that definitely that, in a sense, you're aware of continuing within yourself. So,
It was a wild experience because I'm like, it's my block. And I always go out the door and take a left and go around and around 9 times, 3 miles. The other day I went the other way and it felt different. It wasn't that it felt bad, it just felt like I was walking against the energy field.
yeah, definitely, and that even goes into like a space that you live in, a home, they say, where you place certain things. If we have a chance, I don't know if we'll do it today or not, but I will do a class on Vastu, which is like, you've heard of Feng Shui before?
Yes.
So what's Feng Shui? It's good for the harmony and balance within a space. Vastu is actually the like the version of India. It's actually the first precursor one. So I'd love to get that more and talk about that with you. So to follow up with you, Vata types have light, flexible bodies and big protruding teeth. Sometimes they can be small or skinny, recessed, dry eyes, irregular appetite and thirst. They often experience digestive and malabsorption problems relating back to the intestinal tracts. They're easily excited, alert, and quick to act without much thinking. They may give the wrong answer, but with great confidence. They're not doing that intentionally, they're doing it because they're thinking quick, they want to get things done, boom, get moving. Their dominant force is wind, so they do not like sitting idle and seeking constant action. They're flighty. Vatas hate cold. They hate it. They like warm, soupy, nourishing foods that bring them back and down to earth. And they love summer. So and I don't know, these are all that exist within us. Pitta types have a medium frame and weight and build. They usually have muscles, naturally. They seldom gain or lose much weight. Their eyes are bright, but tend to be sensitive to light. Pitta people usually have strong appetite and thirst. They have excellent abilities of learning, understanding, and concentrating. They're highly disciplined, and they can be judgmental, critical, and a perfectionist as well. And they tend to become angry easily. They have moderate strength, medium span of life. Their force is fire, so summer is a time when Pitta gets easily aggravated. Sunburn, poison ivy, prickly heat, and short tempers are common. Pittas need love and cooling foods, like salads. As we noticed here, like there was a lot of fire being given, and we have more salads that were being asked for. And Pittas should avoid chilies and hot spices. Just be moderate with it. You don't have to avoid, just be moderate. I've noticed that Pitta men are often bald, and really this is because too much heat is coming off of their heads or something. So, yeah, because here's the beautiful thing, but we can look after it. So, Kapha. Kapha types have a strong and large body frame. They have big eyes, strong teeth, thick curly hair. They're smooth, oily, hairy in their skin. They have slow digestion and metabolism, which often results in weight gain, cravings of sweets and salt. A calm, steady mind that they have, a deep, melodious melody voice, and a monotonous pattern of speech. Pardon me. Can you tell what I am? They respond well to coffee and spices. A kapha tends to be aggravated as the moon gets full and during the winter and the early spring. And when the weather is heavy, wet, and cloudy, it makes them too heavy and damp. So when we look at, we're not just one predominant dosha, we're all of them. But biologically, we're conceived at birth from our mother and father. There are predominancies with the tissues, the bones, the dhatus, the reproductive tissues, which resemble what we get from our genetics. And that's relation to this physical side. The mental side is called the gunas in our individual self. Okay, so have we heard of the gunas before?
Yes.
Yes, wicked. Okay. So when we think of gunas, there are three words, which are sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So sattvic relates to what you're doing right now. You're doing a spiritual practice which is harmonious. Living your life within, doing things that are creating that spirituality. They're living your life in harmony, in balance, doing things that are soothing, like taking a bath with some nice essential oils. Rajasic can be a very forceful nature. It's moving, it's quick, it's fiery. You got to get things done. You're fierce. When you look at tamasic, it's more heavy, grounded, lethargic. It's moving slower. It's bringing things down. We need all three of these forces in nature because there's no way someone who's, say, incredibly vata needs to focus more. So with the ADHD, for instance, this is a large rise for it happening. What is it in Ayurveda? ADHD is considered to be a vata disorder because there's too much activity happening in the mental mind. And that's why more tamasic and sattvic qualities would be needed for a child or individual. When depression occurs in any age, especially in more of our later ages, or whichever age that might be, we're not looking at sedating the mind as we do in the West, we actually awaken the mind. So ways of awakening the mind would be through a lot of techniques, diet. Actually, I've been putting a lot of hing, which is asafoetida, into a lot of your foods because it seems that there's a lot of energy being rise, so how can we hold that space within the food that you're consuming into your body? Like, this is crazy. So you bring a lot of asafoetida into your food to help calm down the mind and make sure that it's circulated properly. Just not the organs, but also the mind, because those two play as whole. Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay, great, okay. You want to keep your time?